Hey guys, I just finished making the video. I'm about to upload it. Just to start out, thank you guys for your support, and thank you guys for following me and liking my stuff. It really helps. You know, I'm not getting paid for any of this, or I'm not trying to make paid workouts or anything like that. You know, this is stuff that I've just spent years researching and talking to other arm wrestlers and just doing my best to figure it all out. And it's a lot of work, and frankly it's just a barrier for newer people, and it's a barrier for everyone in the sport in general to get better. So I'm trying to break those barriers down and try and make it as easy as I can for everyone to get stronger. And you should all be sharing what you guys learn too, because that's how you get better. You know, maybe I know something that you don't know, and you know something that I don't know. You know, if we share that stuff, then we both get better. So I really appreciate you guys' support. You know, if you guys could like the videos or share it or follow, that always helps. And I hope you enjoy the video. Alright guys. Welcome to Intermediate Arm Wrestling Training Program. I'm going to get right into it, and then I'll just say the things that you really want to know, and then we'll go into the details after that. So the whole concept of this workout plan is it's nothing new, but it's been popularized, at least with me, through Dr. Andy Galpin, and I'll probably put some links to him. But he's basically like sports medicine doctor for like professional athletes, Olympics, things like that, and he has a lot of clinical data, so actual science from his own athletes and stuff. So it's stuff that works, and he doesn't like talking about stuff that he doesn't know works. So I've been following this guy. I really like what he has to say, and I've reached out to him a few times, and his basic opinion on me applying this to arm wrestling is muscle is a muscle, so it's gonna work. This stuff works. Okay, so this is, I'll try to look into the actual camera. So this is based off a 2-week training program. So the first day of the 2-week program is a physical practice. Okay, so this is intermediate, so I'm assuming that you're going to practice. You know, you're using an arm wrestling table, you have arm wrestling specific training equipment. This isn't for a beginner or for a novice. This is intermediate, so you've probably been arm wrestling a few years already, and you know, you already know a lot of these things already. So I'm gonna paste the workout template into the description. So if you're just looking for the template and you don't want to listen to all this stuff about what these things mean or all that stuff, just go right to the comments. Right to the description, and the template will be pasted there. It's basically a 2-week training program, and with one practice. So one practice, 2 weeks of rest and training, and then it starts over. Then you go back to practice. Okay. The training program is going to be a strength training program and a power training program. That's the focus of this program. It's just basically focused on getting as strong as you possibly can and as powerful as you can. So this is an intermediate program, so you can up the intensity or lower it, whatever you want. So strength, what is strength? So strength is basically you're working in the intensity range of 75 to 100% of your 1 rep max. And And that's what intensity is. What percentage of your 1 rep max are you working in? So ideally you want to be 85% of your 1 rep max and up, but you can go down to 75% and you'll still get stronger. It may not be optimal, but you will get stronger. And the rep range, you want to be 1 to 5 reps. Strength is special. Strength is something you could do every day. You could work a muscle group, the same muscle group every day for strength, because you're not doing a whole lot of work, I guess. I don't know if these are the right terms, but you know, Devin touches about this. He does the same lifts every single day throughout the day. You can do that. I mean, that's fundamentally how strength works. So the training program template, it's going to be 3 movements a day, 3 times a week, and it's going to be 3 sets of 3. And you can modulate this. You can do 5 sets of 5. You can do 5 movements. You know, you could do 1 movement a day. You need to be doing that at least 3 times a week, though. So the terminology is 3 to 5. So 3 to 5 movements, 3 to 5 times a week, 3 to 5 sets, 3 to 5 reps, and 3 to 5 minute rest in between. So again, strength 75 to 100% intensity, 3 to 5 reps, 3 to 5 sets, and 3 to 5 times a week. Now power is how fast you can move something heavy. So the intensity, remember, intensity is the percentage of your 1 rep max. So the intensity for power is 60 to 80% of your 1 rep max. So say you can lift a weight 100 pounds once, so 60% intensity would be 60 pounds, right? And then 80% would be 80 pounds. So power is how fast can you move that 60 pounds, all right? And so power is, it's the same exact training as strength, except the weight is less and you're trying to move that weight as fast as you possibly can. It's gonna feel like you're not really working out, or after your session it's gonna feel like you didn't really do anything. But this is the beauty of strength and power, is you can do these things every day, throughout the day, you know, because they're not tearing your body apart like hypertrophy training, you know, or something like that, or very high intensity stuff. This program is just to be the strongest and most powerful that you possibly can. So you don't want to be training to absolute failure. You don't want to be dying in the gym. You know, that behavior is really going to hurt your gains, because it's going to be a lot difficult for you to go back there tomorrow and do it again. So for power, same exact thing. 3 to 5 exercise, 3 to 5 times a week, 3 to 5 reps, 3 to 5 sets, 3 to 5 minute rest in between. Very simple stuff, but it works. So we'll talk about warming up. Very basic things. You want to do 50% intensity, or 50% of your 1 rep max for 10 reps, 60% for 8 reps, 70% 8 reps, and then 75% at 5 reps. And I don't take a lot of rest between that. I'm just really trying to kind of get my body warmed up, but you can rest a little, depends on how much time you have. Also for these movements, if you want, you can superset strength movements, as long as there's adequate rest between the muscle groups, 3 to 5 minutes. But you can run, say you do wrist, and then you do pronation, and then rise, and then back pressure. To me, it's difficult for me to set my machine up moving everything around to get to the next movement, I'd rather just wait the 3 to 5 minutes than to do all that, but it's up to you. Okay, let's talk about nutrition, sports nutrition here for a moment. I'm really just going to talk about macros. Macros is carbohydrates, protein, and fat intake. So we're trying to get strong. Okay, we're trying to get as strong as we possibly can, and so you're going to need to be eating 1.6 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. All right. So if you're 100 kilograms and you want to have the most amount of protein, you want to have 200 grams of protein. But you can have more. Honestly, you can have as much protein as you want. It does get difficult to get all your protein in, so I find myself more on the low end. I'm doing about 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram. I'm 129 kilograms, so that's like 260 grams of protein. I'm probably getting more around like 230 or something like that, and I'm getting that from eggs and beef and cheese. Cheese is a really good source of protein. A cup of cheese has about 28 grams of protein, and 6 ounces of beef has 24. So, and when you add everything up, the fat is okay. And so for your carbohydrates, you want about 2 to 7 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of body weight. So I'm eating less than that. I'm already pretty fat, so I don't need all of that. But if you want to be performing at your best, you're gonna need to have enough carbohydrates energy-wise. And then for your fat, however much protein you're eating, half of that should probably be fat, since carbohydrates and protein, it's 4 calories per gram of fat, and per gram of carbohydrates or protein, and with fat it's 9 calories per gram. So half of whatever your protein is should be in fat. And if you add those macros up, I think for me, I'm getting about 2,500 calories with what my macros are, which is not enough, and that's because I'm not eating enough carbs. It's hard to get that in, but the more you train and the more you work out, the hungrier you'll be. So I'm probably more around like 3,000. So 2,500 to 3,500 calories a day. So again, this is for power and strength. This isn't for maintaining. This isn't for weight loss. This is just getting as strong as you absolutely can get in arm wrestling movement. So a little bit about getting preparing for practice. And you could apply these to competition, but I'm not going to talk about competing or competition or how to prepare for competition or what's best for competition. But I'm applying these things to practice. So the best way to prepare for your practice. So you want to be hydrated, and you want to make sure you've eaten enough carbohydrates. And we'll talk more about hydration after this. But carb loading, you need to start that 3 to 5 days before practice, or 3 to 4 days before practice. So leading up to your practice, you need to make sure that you're eating enough carbohydrates spread out over 3 to 4 days. You don't want to load up that morning or like the night before. It's just more optimal to spread it out over 3 to 4 days. And again, all this stuff is based around Dr. Andy Galpin. I'm not just making this stuff up. These aren't these aren't things that I have found out. Okay, so I'm not just making this stuff up. This is from a doctor, and stuff that if you're into sport nutrition and exercising, you probably know all about all this stuff. This stuff has been around for a while, and it works. So 3 to 4 days leading up to practice, make sure you're eating enough carbs and you're hydrating. So I'll just give you a quick example of daily eating. This is what I'm currently eating, and I try and eat at least this, but I'll eat on top of it, and I'll go into that more. But for breakfast, it's 4 eggs, cup of cheese, a cup of rice, and that breakfast is 52 grams of protein, 29 grams of fat, and 45 carbohydrates. For my lunch, I split this meal in half, so I eat part of it on my break at work, and then I eat the other half on my lunch break. And this is 6 ounces of beef. I use ground beef, cup of rice, cup of cheese, and that's the same, 52 grams of protein, 41 grams of fat this time, a lot more fat, and 45 grams of carbohydrates. Now when I get home from work, I eat the same exact meal, but all in one. Okay, so same thing, 6 ounces of beef, 1 cup of rice, 1 cup of cheese, 52 grams of protein, 45 carbs, and 41 grams of fat. Then I go and work out. I have my workout. After my workout, I just have a protein shake, and that's 2 scoops of protein. I use the isolate. I think that's better. It tastes better. There's more protein in it, and each scoop is 30 grams of protein. So this drink is 60 grams of protein. So 2 scoops of whey protein isolate and 60 grams of protein. Now I also use butter when I cook my eggs, so that's extra fat there. And I also have fruit, oranges and stuff, so whenever I want fruit, I just have some fruit. I don't eat as much as I should, but I do eat fruit. And so this meal plan is 216 grams of protein a day total, about 112 grams of fat, not including the butter, and 135 grams of carbohydrates, not including the fruit. So you can see this is way less than I should be eating, but this is where I'm at right now. And like I said, I will eat on top of this. Sometimes I'll eat out, on the weekend or things like that, but this is just an example. And it's about 2,400 calories this meal, so it's more than that because of the butter and then the fruit and stuff, but this is just an example. Alright, let's talk about hydration. Now, I don't have any notes on hydration. I forgot to make them. But the main concept with hydration is, and this is from another, I think this is like a military doctor or something, I can't remember his name, but an easy way to tell if you're hydrated is by going off how much do you weigh, and also in the morning, how thirsty do you feel, and the color of your urine. So your urine should not be clear. That's bad. It should have just a tinge to it. So basically, if you wake up in the morning and you're not that thirsty and your urine just has a slight tinge to it, and you don't weigh significantly less than you normally do, say you weigh 200 pounds normally, like midday, you're hydrated, and you wake up in the morning and you're like 294, like you probably need to drink some water. So if your weight's real low in the morning, you're thirsty and your urine's dark, you're not hydrated. So that's very general advice, just to stay hydrated throughout the day. There's all these rules about drinking 100 ounces of water a day and all these things. I mean, like I said, hydrate yourself, weigh yourself when you know you're hydrated, and then that's how much you should, that's the weight you want to stay at. So if you've dropped a lot of weight from that hydrated state, you know you didn't lose fat, okay? You didn't take a 6-pound poop, you know what I mean? Maybe you did, that's something else, but you know you've lost water. And as far as how much you should be drinking while you're working out, so when you're training, you're sweating. So what you want to be drinking is basically sweat. You know, what are you sweating out? You're mostly sweating out sodium and water. So you're also losing potassium and calcium and magnesium, but the big ones are water, obviously, and sodium. So you want to make sure you're replenishing that when you drink. If you want to be supernatural, you can do some coconut water and put some salt in it. Or there's sports powders you can use, like Nuun, that's N-U-U-N. There's vitamin liquid IV, that's the one I like to use. And then there's another drink called LMNT. But I like liquid IV because there's some carbohydrates and sugars in there, and I feel like that's important. But LMNT does have more sodium, but you can just put a few cracks of salt in there. And so I think the rule of thumb is like 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 50 milligrams of magnesium, and like 250 milligrams of potassium per hour of training. So that's really just one glass of one of those drinks, unless if you're working out for 2 hours, maybe 2 hours, right? But yeah, the basic concept is, you're sweating, you want to do, that's what you want to be drinking, sweat. You want to be replenishing what's coming out of your body. So you need sodium and all these things. As far as how much water you should be drinking when you're training, a test you can do is weigh yourself before you work out, and then if you're drinking water through your workout, which you should be, make sure you know how much of that water you're drinking, and then weigh yourself after your workout and subtract the weight of the water that you drank. And so you can say you weighed 200 pounds before your workout, and then after your workout you weighed 194 pounds. So you lost 6 pounds of water. So you need to make sure that you're drinking. That's a lot, right? You need to make sure you're drinking about that much, and you're gonna pee some of it out too. So just be mindful. I'll try and put a link to some videos about hydration. But 3 to 4 days leading up to an event, you want to make sure, leading up to practice, you want to make sure that you're hydrated and you're eating enough carbohydrates. Very important. If you don't do those things, you won't be able to maintain your muscle endurance very long. So I had someone ask me the other day, hey, I know I'm stronger and I know I have more technique than other guys, but they always end up beating me in practice. And my suggestion to him was that he was probably dehydrated and he hadn't been eating enough, because you can't maintain your peak levels if you're not hydrated or you're not eating enough carbohydrates. There's a bunch of studies on that. If you're not hydrated, you're losing like 10% of your strength, and that's a lot. Okay, next we're gonna head into the gym, and I'm going to go over all the different movements and how to do them and their purpose, what you should be thinking about while you're doing them, and then we'll apply that to the workout template. Alright guys, first we're going to kind of go over the different tools and stuff that we'll be using for these workouts. We have the martial arts belt. There's a million things you can do with this. I'm using this for pronation and rising, okay? We have just a very basic D handle. Most exercise equipment come with this. This attachment came with a D handle. Then I just have a fat grip placed around it, okay? Then we just have a strap, basic arm wrestling strap. I use this for back pressure. Simple stuff. And then there's this thing. It has different names. Eccentric handle. This one is by, can't remember who makes this one. Honestly, it's the red one. It says Arm Wrestling Equipment AS on it, but I don't remember who makes this. I know it didn't come with this, so this is from another implement. But yeah, this is for fingers. We'll go over all this stuff. So the first workout we're gonna go over is, I just refer to it as pinning. Okay, we're gonna be using this handle. And we're gonna move this up to the 7 mark, which is all the way up here. And we have it here connected. I'll do it on both sides. But basically, you're gonna cup in, lock your body, lock your position, and just bring it down to the pad. Just like that. You wanna make sure that your hand is staying inside of your shoulder here when you're doing the movement, okay? That's gonna make sure that your muscles are getting stronger and not just your bone and tendon. Here it is from the other side. Drop your whole body down. Just like that. Now this movement is heavy on your elbow. So if you have problems with your elbow, you're having elbow pain, I would avoid this movement. There's plenty of talk about recovery for the elbow. It's just a problem that will always be part of arm wrestling. There's stretches you can do. You can do a stretch like this. You're basically just kind of flexing your arm, and you can push it back. You can lean up against the wall with that stretch. You can do the JM press. That'll stretch out the elbow if you're having pain there. Let's move on to the next exercise. So the next exercise is going to be rising. So we're going to lower the pin down to the 1. I like to have the knot on top here. Put the strap over the back of your hand like this, and then you bring it through your hand like this, and you go over the knuckles. I'll swap to the other side in a minute. Okay, this is the position. So on a speed day, or I'm sorry, on a power day, you're gonna do it just like this. Okay, you're gonna move this weight as fast as you can. Now it's gonna be slower than that on your power day because it's not gonna be the amount of weight. I only have 25 pounds on here. So this is the non-isolated rising movement. Okay, I'll switch hands over the back of the hand, through the hand, over the knuckle. Okay? And then just drop down. That's the movement. You could do it over the front of the knuckle, but when you do it this way, it's pulling your hand down like this, right? It's pulling it down this way. The reason why I do it over the knuckle here, because I want it to pull my hand this way, back like this, just like an opponent would be attacking my hand. They're going to be pulling it back. If I have it over the knuckles, the failure point is down and this way, like if you're slipping. I don't want to be strong at slipping. I want to be strong at an offensive movement, right? So I have it over the knuckle here, and this is the movement. Just drop down. Now, static riser, you're going to be using another belt, okay? This goes over your neck, and your opposite arm goes through it. So over the neck, opposite arm through it. You put your wrist up against the brace here, back of the hand, through the hand, over the knuckle, same movement. But now you're moving the weight by pulling this strap, okay? So you're pulling against the strap by coming backwards. And what this does is it's isolating your hand from the rest of your body. So your wrist, your riser, is doing 100% of the work. Your arm isn't doing anything else. When you're training your heavy days, you need to be using this strap. Because if you don't, then every arm wrestling movement works your arm, which means every movement that you do, your arm's being worked. So instead of your arm doing 3 sets of 3, it's 3 sets of 3, sets of 3, sets of 3, whatever you're doing. So you want to isolate your hand from the rest of your body. So each muscle group is doing the work that it needs to, and it's not being shared across your arm. So same thing, opposite hand. If you're training your right hand, then your left arm goes through the other side of the strap. Around the back of the hand, through the hand, over the knuckle. Same thing. You're pulling through this strap here. So you're leaning back, putting pressure here, and that's what's lifting the weight off the ground. Isolating your arm 100% from the movement. So you shouldn't have any tension here. You can have some to stabilize, but you really want to focus on isolating your hand 100%. So now we're going to move on to pronation. Same implement here, just a different length. So I change out the carabiner. Like I said, you can do it however you want. For this movement, we're going to move the attachment up to the 2. We have the pronation set up on the 2. I want to correct myself on the last one. When you're training isolated riser, it's going to be on the 2. The only time you're going to have the pin on the 1 is when it's not isolated. So when the main focus is your arm. Okay? Those are going to be on the 1. Anyway, we'll start with isolated. And the isolated is the same for everything. It's the same for the wrist, pronation, rise. It's the same setup. So, same thing. I like to have the knot on the top. You're going to wrap your thumb through this, over the fat part of your thumb here. Bury your thumb down deep, okay? And you want to fully pronate all the way, as much as you can. And then you close your hand. Same thing. You're leaning back, pulling into this strap. That's the lift. Putting it over the thumb like this also works the thumb. The thumb is very important. Your thumb is what's pushing your opponent's hand underneath yours, allowing you to come over top of their hand. Okay, if you don't have a strong thumb, your thumb's going to be up here. I don't know how you're going to pronate very well when your thumb is up here. And your opponent is grabbing onto your thumb in the grip. So they're gripping this way. So you need to have a strong thumb to push your opponent's hand underneath yours. Same thing for the other arm. Knot on top. Wrap it around the meat of your thumb. Push your thumb down far. Fully pronate. And just drop down. Just like that. Now, to do it without isolation, you're going to bring the notch down to the 1 position, and this is the same thing for the rising. So when you're not isolated, it's on the 1. When it's isolated, you're on the 2. Thumb through, fully pronated, and this is a movement that you would do on your power day, right? So you're moving a heavy weight, 60 to 80% of your 1 rep max as fast as you can. Just like that. Swap to the other one. Again, this is only 25 pounds, so I wouldn't be moving this fast if it was 60 to 80%. Non-isolated pronation. The next one I called finger breaks, and the reason why is I use this handle. It really attacks your fingers, and I only count the rep if the weight breaks off the ground. So you break the weight off the ground, that's 1 rep. Break it off again, that's two reps. So let's set this up. This is going to be the same setup as the pinning, okay? So we're going to bring it up to 7. This handle, the attachment should be coming through the bottom, okay? And what that's going to do is a lot of the bite and attack is going to kind of be right here, okay? And that's where you're going to get attacked with your fingers. You're not going to get attacked real high up here too much unless they're posting. And if they're posting, you know, the counter to that is a better post or grabbing really low. So if you're grabbing really low, this is the part of your hand that's going to be getting attacked. And if you're posting, you're really not using your fingers as much. And when you do use it, you're using these 2 fingers to push into the opponent's knuckle. So for this movement, I like to have the attachment coming up this way. So it's a little long. Usually it would be a little bit closer to me, but the lift is this. That's 1. That's it. And the position of my hand is going to look something like this. Just like this. It's not like this. It's this. Okay? And you're not doing this with it. You're just staying static and bringing the weight off the floor. Just like that. You need a lot of chalk on this. I do. This is a skill-based movement. It's going to take practice to learn how to use this handle and get it to move, because when you first start using it, it's going to be heavy. But once you learn how to properly use this handle, then you'll be able to move more weight, more stable. And you're not really, there isn't really a lot of weight being pushed into your thumb here. So if you feel a lot of pressure in your thumb here, you're doing it wrong. You're really just squeezing it so hard that it's not flipping out of your hand. if you squeeze it hard without using your thumb, it's not going to flip out of your hand. But if you don't have a good squeeze, it's going to flip out. Really attacks your fingers. What it also attacks is internal rotation, because the pressure you're putting on this handle to break it is this pressure. Okay, it's not straight down. It's not your lat. You're coming this way with it, which is very similar to a hook when you're trying to push somebody's pronation, coming down like this. So this pressure is really this way. And the reason why that's the case is because of the way this is putting pressure into your hand. It's this way, right? That's why the handle rotates out of your hand like that. So it's attacking your hand this way, so your pressure is going to be this way. So it does attack internal rotation too, this movement. Same thing on the other hand. That's a lift. And when you do this lift, you'll feel a lot of pressure going this way. You feel it in your elbow, and you feel the pressure in the side of your arm. And your chest is being activated as well, big time with this movement. Because like I said, your hand is going this way. I'm sweating a lot because it's 98 degrees in here and I don't have the fan on for the audio. The next movement is just simply back pressure. So we're gonna bring this pin all the way down to the 1 spot. Just gonna take an arm wrestling strap, put it through, put it around your wrist, and in the other end you put it through your hand, just like that. This is a really fun exercise. It's so important. I'll go over why. But basically you just come in here and you drop down. That's a lift. Very simple. We'll swap over to here. Around the wrist, around the hands. It's just like a strap. And you just drop down. So, the reason why this is such an important lift is you're using it in a hook, you're using it in a defensive hook, you're using it in a top roll. So if you're in a hook with somebody, right, like this, and you've got them stopped here, you're using this pressure, right? Because if I come back to center here, I'm in a pronated state. So I'm using my elbow flexor, okay? If I'm top rolling or posting somebody, I'm using my elbow flexors, right? If I'm in a hook, right, and I'm over here with somebody, I'm still using my elbow flexor, right? This muscle group. So I'll stay here, right? And I'll come back to center. Right? Open my hand, and then I'll turn my body back forward. It's still my elbow flexor being worked. Even when you're way out here and you're defending a hook, or you're defending somebody in a hook here, right? You may think, oh, that's definitely bicep, right? His palm is up. It's still elbow flexor, right? Because if I come back to center, I'm still using my elbow flexors. I'm not using my bicep, okay? This is your bicep, okay? This is your bicep. This is your bicep, okay? I don't arm wrestle like this. You can if you want. I don't arm wrestle like this. I'm not training that, okay? I arm wrestle like this. I arm wrestle like this, and I arm wrestle like this. Even if I'm coming around in a hook, right? If I come back up and I spin out, open my hand, still elbow flexor. So very important movement. The last one we're gonna do is the wrist. So the wrist is isolated. we're gonna go up to 4 right here. So when you're working the wrist, we're gonna be using this handle. The eccentric, the red handle. This handle also works the wrist, but on nowhere near the same level as what this workout is gonna do to work your wrist. This is gonna be isolated movement as well. We're gonna start with the left wrist. So that means our right arm goes through the belt, right? Back of the wrist here. You can use your thumb. I don't use my thumb. Same thing. And the wrist is fully mobile here. This strap is not making it easier to lift this weight, okay? All it's doing is isolating your wrist from your arm. So how many workouts have we done already that would have used the elbow flexor, right? Pronation would have used the elbow flexor. Rising would have used the elbow flexor. The back pressure workout used the elbow flexor. So that's already 3 exercises on the same muscle group. And now we're in number 4. There's no way that this is gonna hold up. So that's why we isolate. And there's no way you're gonna lift this much weight like this. You don't want to limit the strength of your hand by how strong your arm is. So, I mean, we're doing like 150 to 200 pounds on the wrist here, and that's just too much weight for the arm. So that's another reason why we isolate. Don't undertrain your hand because your arm isn't strong enough. Train each thing separately and bring them up on their own path. So same thing, brace, lean back, that's a lift. That's it. If you fail the lift, it looks like this. Your body moves, but your wrist doesn't. It'll just kind of drop open. But that's it. That's the lift for this. We'll try the other arm. We're gonna do the right hand so the left arm goes through. Support the wrist here. That's it. And you're pulling through the strap, and you're locking your wrist, and you're trying to prevent it from opening up. You can bend it whatever you want, you know, because if you go too far down, it's just gonna roll off your hand, right? So you don't want it straight either. Just give it a good bend and pull on it. I'll paste the workout in the description, and I'll name everything how I talked about it here in the video. Okay, guys? Thanks again.